Hello, English learners, and welcome. I'm your host, Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Excited to chat about English learning today. Today, we're getting into something really practical, how to speak more powerfully, more persuasively.
Yeah, and we're focusing on a concept you might have heard of maybe back in school, the rule of threes.
Exactly. We've got some insights from speaking good English, but also this, this pretty wild personal story that just nails the point.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is basically to show you how this simple framework, this rule of threes, can seriously upgrade how you get your ideas across.
Making things clearer, more engaging, and yeah, way more memorable.
Okay, let's unpack this. So, the rule of threes, high school English, right? That's where I first heard it.
Me too, I think.
The basic idea, it's pretty straightforward. You need enough support for your thoughts or opinions.
Right.
And the magic number is 3. 3 details, 3 examples, or 3 reasons. It's often taught as just, good English.
But it's so much more than just like a grammar rule, isn't it? It's actually about how our minds work. Well, it's fascinating, really. Our brains seem hardwired to grasp things in threes. 2 feels incomplete. 4 or more. It gets a bit much.
Information overload.
Exactly. 3 just hits this cognitive sweet spot. It creates a rhythm, a sense of completeness. Yeah. Makes things easier to remember, more impactful.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like a natural pattern.
Pretty much. So if you don't use it, you just give one reason, or maybe you ramble on with 6.
Yeah. What happens to the listener then? Do they just, tune out?
Often, yeah. Or they struggle to follow. The information might feel a bit thin or maybe unconvincing. It just doesn't stick.
Right.
The beauty of threes is that structure. It gives just enough support for the idea to land properly.
Got it. Okay, so let's break down the first part of this rule. Using 3 details. This is about painting a picture, right? Helping the listener visualize.
Mm-hmm. Making it vivid.
Okay, imagine someone asks, what's your favorite food?
Right.
You could just say, my favorite food is sushi, period.
Simple enough.
But it's not very engaging, is it? So applying the rule, maybe something like, my favorite food is sushi. Detail 1. It involves fresh, high-quality fish.
Okay, nice.
Detail 2, perfectly seasoned rice. And detail 3, maybe, an artful presentation on the plate that makes it visually delicious.
Ah, see? Now I can almost picture it. Taste it, even. Those 3 details add layers.
Exactly. It makes it appealing.
And that word appealing is key here. The source defines it not just as attractive, but interesting, pleasing, appetizing, even juicy or tasty.
So it's about hitting the senses.
Precisely. And think about it.
Yeah.
How often do we just state facts without adding those sensory details? We miss the chance to make things truly appealing, truly memorable.
Good point. Okay, so that's details. Let's move to the second part, using 3 examples.
Right. This is about bringing in real-life situations. Context.
So sticking with sushi, instead of just, my favorite food is sushi.
Yeah. How would you add examples?
Well, maybe like this. For instance, example 1. I love enjoying a variety of sushi rolls at my local Japanese restaurant, trying different flavors.
Okay, that's relatable.
Example 2. I've also started learning to make sushi at home with friends, which has been, fun and rewarding.
Shows a different dimension, hands-on.
And example 3. Plus, when I travel, I always try unique sushi combinations. It lets me appreciate the diverse interpretations of this culinary art form.
Nice. Culinary art form, good phrasing. So those examples show it's not just a casual preference. It shows depth, engagement.
Right. You're showing how you appreciate it, not just that you appreciate it.
And appreciate, another good word from the source, meaning recognizing the full worth, understanding the good qualities. The examples demonstrate that appreciation in action.
It moves beyond just liking something to understanding its value.
Exactly. The examples provide that real-world proof, making your point much stronger and more understandable.
Okay. Details paint the picture, examples show it in action. Now the third part, 3 reasons. This is the why, right?
Yeah, this gets into your thought process. Why do you hold that opinion or idea?
Let's stick with our sushi. My favorite food is sushi. Now for the reasons. Reason 1. I love it because it offers this perfect balance of flavors and textures, soft rice, fresh fish, crunchy veg.
Okay, sensory reasons again.
Reason 2. Secondly, sushi is actually a healthy and nutritious option, packed with omega-3s, other essential nutrients.
Practical benefit.
Health. And reason 3. Lastly, I appreciate the whole cultural experience and the artistry involved. It makes eating it more than just a meal. It's like an immersive culinary journey.
Immersive, nice. So
Yeah.
we got taste, health, and culture or experience. 3 distinct reasons.
Right. And those specific words you highlighted, nutritious, essential, immersive, they add weight, don't they?
Absolutely. Nutritious implies it's good for you based on its components. Essential underscores the importance of those nutrients. And immersive, that suggests a deep, engaging experience, not just looking at something pretty.
So combining precise language with these three solid reasons, it makes your case much more robust.
Definitely. It shows you've actually thought it through, and it helps the listener follow your logic. It's persuasive.
Okay, so that's the rule of threes laid out. Details, examples, reasons, pretty clear framework.
Seems straightforward enough.
But theory is one thing. Here's where it gets really interesting for me. I have this story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real life thing that happened. And honestly, it wasn't until later that I realized how perfectly it sort of embodied all these principles without even trying.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So I love food, Indian, Thai, but Mexican is probably my second favorite. I grew up around fantastic, authentic Mexican cooking.
Right. You know the real deal.
Exactly. So one day I get this major craving. Just gotta have some good Mexican food.
We've all been there.
So I do the usual thing, pick up my phone, Google Mexican food near me.
Standard procedure.
A bunch of places pop up. But one just jumps out. It had like over 1,000 reviews, and the average rating was 4.5 stars or higher.
Wow, 1,000 reviews at 4.5 plus. That's really something.
Insane, right? I thought, okay, this place has got to be incredible. Gold mine.
Totally. What was it called?
Well, that's the thing. I looked closer at the pictures, and I'm like, wait a second. Is this a gas station?
A gas station restaurant.
Yeah.
With those reviews.
A gas station on one side, pumps, the little convenience store bit. On the other side, this Mexican restaurant.
Okay, that is unexpected. Definitely judging a book by its cover moment, potentially.
Big time. My first thought was, no way, a gas station. But then, those reviews, 1,000 people aren't usually wrong about food, right?
That's a lot of data points suggesting it's good.
And they kept saying things like, authentic, best tacos in town, So curiosity won. It was only like 5 minutes away, so I thought, okay, what the heck, let's check it out.
Brave. So you went.
I did. I pulled up, and sure enough, there it is. Gas station. Restaurant door on the left. I took a deep breath, opened the door, and the first thing that hits me is everyone's speaking Spanish. Like, only Spanish. The chatter, the music from the kitchen.
Okay, that's usually a very good sign for authentic food.
My thought, exactly. I was like, okay, this might actually be legit. So I go up to the counter. The server comes over, super friendly, but definitely needed to grab someone else who spoke a bit more English.
Right.
I just ordered a burrito. Simple. She rings it up and says, that'll be $6.
$6
Yeah.
for a burrito in this day and age.
I know. I was kind of stunned. $6 seemed way too cheap. But okay, I paid. Waited maybe, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
She hands me this bag, and it's heavy. Like, surprisingly heavy.
A promising sign.
Definitely. It had chips, a container of salsa, and this monster burrito. It was huge.
Okay, now you're painting a picture. The weight, the size.
Seriously. I got back in the car, couldn't wait, ripped open the chips, tried the salsa. Oh my God. Heaven, just fresh, zesty, perfect.
The salsa test.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Passed with flying colors. So I drive home, like 5 minutes, get inside, unwrap this behemoth. It was so big, I literally had to cut it in half.
No way.
Yes. And even half was massive. I looked inside, it was just packed. Rice, guacamole, onions, beans, some kind of marinated meat, cheese. I swear there must have been like 9 or 10 different ingredients in there, all perfectly layered.
Wow. So the moment of truth.
I took a bite. And you know that feeling when food is so good you just kind of shimmy? Like an involuntary little happy dance?
I know exactly that feeling.
That was it. Instant shimmy. It was hands down the best burrito I have ever had, and certainly the best $6 burrito from a gas station restaurant ever.
That's amazing. All from that initial skepticism.
Totally. I demolished half of it right then and there. Couldn't even finish the other half. It was so much food.
Incredible.
And ever since, that's my spot, my go-to for real Mexican food. Every time I have friends visit, I'm like, you like Mexican? Trust me, I got a place.
You take them to the gas station?
Yeah.
And they always give me that look, that, are you serious side-eye, when we pull up.
I can imagine.
But then they taste it. And every single time they're like, okay, wow, you were right. It completely changes their mind.
That's a fantastic story. And it really does illustrate the rule of threes, even though you weren't consciously doing it when you told it just now.
How do you mean?
Well, think about it. You gave us vivid details, right? The 1,000 4.5-star reviews, that's specific. The gas station setting, unexpected detail. Hearing only Spanish. The $6 price. The heavy bag. The huge size. The 9 or 10 ingredients. Those details made the story come alive.
Huh. Yeah, I guess it did.
Then you gave examples. The whole process was an example. Searching Google, the initial skepticism, deciding to go anyway, the interaction with the server, the salsa test, the cutting it in half, the shimmy reaction. Those are all mini stories, examples that built the bigger picture.
Right, right. And finally, the reasons why it was so good were woven throughout. The authenticity implied by the language and the setting, the incredible value for money, the sheer amount of food, the complexity, and, obviously, the amazing taste described by your reaction, detail, example, reason they were all there, naturally.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It just happened.
And that's often the case with powerful storytelling, isn't it? When you really connect with something, when you understand its different facets, the details, how it plays out in reality, why it matters, those elements tend to emerge naturally. It shows the rule of threes isn't just a formula. It reflects how we naturally structure compelling narratives.
So, okay, wrapping this up. What does all this mean for you listening right now? This rule of threes, the sushi examples, this surprisingly delicious gas station burrito story.
Yeah.
How does it apply day to day?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that the rule of threes isn't just some stuffy rule for, speaking good English in a formal paper. It's a really practical tool.
For everyday conversations, too.
Absolutely. It's for clarity. It's for persuasion. It's for making any message actually land and stick with people. It helps you explain not just what you think, but why you think it and how it looks in the real world.
Like showing the full picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And connecting back to your story, the sort of moral was don't judge a book by its cover,
Huh.
right? Look beyond the surface.
Yeah, you never know what you'll find.
And the rule of threes kind of encourages the same thing in communication. Don't just give the headline statement. Go deeper. Provide the details, the examples, the reasons. Explore it fully. Just like you found that amazing food hidden at a gas station, sometimes the real value or insight is found when you dig a bit deeper than the surface impression.
That makes a lot of sense, looking beyond the obvious.
Which actually raises an interesting question. We talked about speaking, but where else might this principle of threes be useful? In design, problem solving, how we structure arguments.
Interesting angle. Well, that seems like a good place to leave it for today. We really hope this deep dive into the rule of threes from, the theory and the sushi examples right through to that unforgettable gas station burrito has given you some fresh ideas about communicating effectively.
And maybe something to chew on. How could applying this idea of threes not just when you speak, but maybe when you listen, or when you're thinking critically about information, how could that help you uncover unexpected insights? Find those hidden gems, those deeper truths, just like that amazing restaurant hiding in plain sight.